What's up, gamers? NanMans here, and we're doing our 2024 year-end recap. So thanks for everybody that's tuning in and watching or listening, because, of course, this is the podcast episode of NanMans Nerd Corner. You can find podcasts anywhere, just search NanMans Nerd Corner, or you can check it out on YouTube. This is going to be our discussion about content creation, modern decks that we've played this year, what we think about the ban list in greater details. We're going to be talking about commentary and casting RTS games like StarCraft and Stormgate, kind of what games that we played outside of Magic and outside of Stormgate this year, as well as our plans for 2025. So let's kind of dive into the episode and get things started. So 2024, let's kind of shift over real quick. You'll see, if you're watching on YouTube, hey, glad to have you here. You can see in the background our little thumbnails that we've kind of progressed and worked throughout the year. We've definitely improved our thumbnail game, I feel like, a lot in 2024. But let's talk a little bit about our journey from starting things out in 2024. But before we get into really the journey of 2024, we have to kind of do a snapshot of 2023. Because I feel like that's important to kind of at least give some context, if you will, to what has been going on behind the scenes, at least the YouTube side of things. So you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll give you guys numbers, of course, if you're just listening. So above me is kind of our snapshot of what 2023 looked like. But, we're doing very different content in 2023. We started to get back into it, post-pandemic, post-grad school, all that kind of fun stuff. We were like, yep, let's get back into it. We want to still do content. How can we do that? We were doing these history-style videos. I love to create those things like, what was Eldrazi Winter? Or what was the only card to get banned twice in Modern, right? So those are on the channel. If you want to check those out, you can go back and look for those content. Out of all those videos that we did, you can see we got 75 new subscribers, 13,800 or so new views for 2023, and then 536 hours watched on the channel, which is pretty solid for like a video a month, more or less, with some gaps in between. Especially really picked up, you could see, I don't know how well the graph is showing here, but really it's like the big surge in July. Like we had a couple sprinkling at the beginning of the year, but like, oh, here's one in June, or one in January, one in March, not much else, maybe some in May here, little blips. But it was really just like that July onward, we started being able to consistently go, yep, let's get back into it. Here's one video a month related to the history side of things. So that was really fun. We got to do that. So now let's talk a little bit about 2024. All right. Numbers have shot up significantly. Let's keep that up here. Have shot up significantly. And when we started the year, we had 562 subscribers starting out 2024. I brought back our modern commentary and gameplay starting in January on the 22nd, and then February 19th, and then March 4th, basically going, hey, this monthly schedule worked. We were able to do that to kind of wrap up 2023. It did pretty good. Let's try to do that. Still working on the editing side of things and trying to figure out the vision for the content that we wanted to start. And then on March 25th, we start releasing weekly gameplay content. Like we've got the formula down. Let's kind of push this out on a weekly basis. And then that continued until May. So like, hey, every week a new video comes out. And then in May, we did that big surge to the continued schedule that you guys see on the channel now, which is every Monday and Thursday, you get to have a new gameplay content for you, with a couple of sprinklings on Saturday. You see like a big surge. I might be blocking it with my head here, but like, yeah, basically these numbers here, this big surge and spikes were the summer months, right? June was huge for content creation because, the school year had ended and I had a lot more free time to be able to dedicate towards content creation. Also, Modern Horizons 3 came out. So it was like this perfect storm of like new content to be able to work on, and then we kind of can push our way to the end of 2024. So this is data and information based on up to the 26th. All right. This is right before our newest gameplay episode comes out, because it is, again, Thursday. New episode comes out. We have 927 subscribers. So we gained 365 subscribers this year, which is awesome, amazing. 84,658 views. Amazing. And then you all have watched a total of 5,800 hours of our content, which is absolutely mind-blowing to think about how much content you all have consumed on the channel this year, which I very much appreciate all of you guys being able to do that. So if we're thinking about our top 5 most viewed videos of 2024, 4 are gameplay and 1 is a ban restricted announcement video. So we have our Mono Blue Tron versus Domain. I guess we can disappear this for a second while we go through this, so you're not distracted by this capture. Yeah, so here are our top ones. One was just scrolling across the screen there. Mono Blue Tron versus Domain. Mono Black Coffers versus Amulet Titan. Mono Black Scam versus Amulet Titan. Murktide versus Teamer Prowess. And then our March 11th ban and restricted announcement when Violent Outburst was banned. So a lot of people big fans of the monocolored decks, it seems there, or at least based on that information that we got to see with some of our snapshots there. So that was very cool. The Violent Outburst one makes sense. So 2024, of course, was that big year of content creation, not only for the numbers that we saw on YouTube, but the other side of it too. We were able to be a featured guest at Commander Sealed. And of course, I was trying to get everything all prepped and ready, but I don't think I have the image for that, do I? I've got it here somewhere. Anyway, you guys saw it over. Here it is. There it is. I found it. I knew it was here. Bam. Featured content creator. There it is. So 2024 was a lot of that feature content stuff that we got to do. We got to go to Commander Sealed. I know we were ready for that, right? We came prepared. So got to do that. We did played in the main event for it. So if you weren't familiar, you basically get a bunch of sealed product in forms of booster packs, and then you're going to open them and build a deck from it. Commander deck specifically. The people in your pod for the draft portion, if you would like to trade with, you're welcome to. I was very lucky that I had some great players in my pod that I could be able to sit here and trade with and try to work through, and I got an amazing deck from it. Specifically, Lord of the Rings pack was paying off. Got Arwen, the Mortal Queen, as my commander, and made a sweet Selesnya deck. Not normally in my wheelhouse of decks, but it worked out really well for the event. I ended up going 2-1 for the main event, which is crazy to think about because, it's a 4-player pod, multiplayer format, and you're essentially beating 3 other people each pod to be the winner. And so I did that twice, and then in the final round, ended up losing to somebody that went into the actual final pod. So I was like, okay, as things go, it's not too bad. Also, for the first time doing a Commander Sealed event, I was ecstatic. So there was a vlog footage of that. If you guys want to be able to check out more of that content, you guys can be able to do that. So that was the exciting stuff for Commander Sealed. We also got to become an MTGO content creator. We got accepted into the MTGO content creator program, and we're giving away play points out on a monthly basis over on Blue Sky and on Twitter. A lot of our interactions are still within Twitter. I know a lot of people, especially in the content creation scene for Magic, have migrated over to Blue Sky. We have as well. You could be able to search us up. The Real NanMan, NanMan's Nerd Corner. Either of those will help you find where we're at. So give us a follow there. But you can get play points. We're giving away 120 play points. We got 5 codes to give away every single month for people to participate. You can use those codes to be able to play in different leagues. So if you're a Modern player, a Legacy player, you want to play Pioneer, Standard, You want to just draft, you can do that with your play points. I'm a huge fan of the Vintage Cube. Holiday Vintage Cube's going on. We did a video about that. You can use your points for playing the Vintage Cube. So that's been a big push there. But I struggle with the social media side of things, so you'll see giveaways and you'll see me posting up about our content over there. But I'm not as good with the interaction because I just like to sit here and commentate and make content. So that's a lot of what you'll see if you're on there. Every now and again we'll do giveaways of product too, but we'll see. Now, other content that we got to do. All right, we got to have some fun doing some commentary this year, kind of the stream side of things. If you guys don't know, we have our Twitch channel that we stream to every so often, usually on the weekends, twitch.tv/TheRealNanMan. Mainly RTS games. Stormgate Early Access came out, and we've jumped into streaming, commentating grassroots tournaments for that. So mainly the Alpha Navigator Cups and their subsequent finals afterward, which are like, here's your weekly events, open for any player, and then you gather up enough points, and you're able to participate in the main final for a chance to win some money. So we've been able to commentate both of those. And then all those VODs, of course, have been uploaded over to our secondary YouTube channel, which if you're watching on here, maybe you didn't know we also have an RTS channel for YouTube, which is youtube.com/NanMan. You guys can check that out. We also got to return to StarCraft casting when we got to participate and work with the longest running North American LAN event, Cheesadelphia, and it felt great to be able to come back and do some StarCraft casting because it's been so long. I felt like really rusty when it came to the filling dead space and all that, like dead air in between rounds, especially when you're like, hey, here's an 8-hour event that you're going to be commentating and casting and talking for, and it's Swiss, so there will be going to be, your round might be done and you're stuck waiting for the next round to begin, and you have to fill that time. And I was very much out of practice on being able to do that solo, right? Previously, when I used to do that and do the StarCraft tournaments, I'd have a co-commentator, so I could sit here and like throw to them, hey, what do you think about this? Let's get a discussion going about that. And yes, there is some elements of that on Twitch too. You can talk to chat and stuff, but it's like it's very different. So definitely, I need to practice that a little bit more. But luckily, once the game started up, it was like, no problem. I know exactly what I'm doing here. I could talk through this. I can highlight the key things that viewers need to be paying attention to and focused on and watch out for in this matchup, on this map, on this, like I could break that stuff down easy for people. So once we got in there, no problems. We also had other top games. You know what? Let's pull up this while we're doing this. Let's pull up our Twitch recap. All right, this is a little bit more information if you guys are watching again. We didn't get a stream and much as we liked, but that's okay. It was still fun to be able to do. Got 85 new followers. Thanks to anyone that has shown up for that. 7 new subscribers. Amazing. But our top categories: Stormgate, makes sense. We were just talking about the grassroots events. Magic the Gathering, also makes sense. We got to do Zero Space, StarCraft 2, and Battle Aces. We talked about StarCraft casting, but Zero Space and Battle Aces are the other 2 RTS games that are in development, the early access stuff. So that's really cool to be able to kind of showcase those games there. We did 35 streams this year, which we're not on a consistent stream schedule at the moment. We're happy with being able to do on weekends when we can. The goal would be to eventually get back into doing streaming. But for now, it's like our main focus is on the YouTube side of things. So it's like we know it's going to be back to streaming a more consistent schedule at some point. For now, we're happy with the YouTube grind and a sprinkling of content on the weekends. But that's why you guys got to follow on Twitter and on Blue Sky and things like that, because we post up about when we're doing tournaments and things like that there. So that was cool to be able to do a lot of those games, right? They're all strategy games, right? Real-time strategy games, whether it's, those RTS stuff or Magic. So that's a big part of what's going on with that. So let's shift a little bit, shall we? I know. Let's talk about Modern. So we've got Modern decks that we've played this year. We'll talk about the ban list. We're going to spend a lot more time now talking Modern. The year started out 2024 where we were rocking, like, is it Wizards, is it Murktide, and Yawgmoth. Like, we hadn't really found a deck that we were super happy with. And so we were just kind of like messing around with a lot of stuff, right? There was nothing that was like, yeah, this is what, because it's like everybody knows there's that impending big rotation coming, right? The way that the year started, everybody knew Modern Horizons 3 was coming out in the summer. So it's like whatever we're playing now, it's very likely going to be very different come summertime. And we'll talk about that too. I did play a couple weeks of Bant Rhinos. That was like that post-violent outburst ban, just to see if there was something there using Teferi to help us get the instant speed and a little bit of protection. But I got bored with the deck, I'll be honest. Like, I didn't really want to play the domain style that was running around. The Rhino list was not enjoyable to me. So I was like, nope, not going to really play that. So then Modern Horizons 3 came out, and I jumped on the Nado train after watching it do its thing at the Pro Tour. I was like, yeah, this seems great. I like this. I like chord-based decks. This is sweet. I used to play a lot of chord-based decks, Kiki chord, and the Collected Company styles of Abzan chord decks back, those decks were a lot of fun back in the day. Like, yeah, let's do this. Bam, sweet. Blue and green, love those colors. Those, love it. So we did that. We went to play in 2 RCQ events. We ended up losing 2-3 in both those. We played a lot of times lost to the mirror matchup, and a lot of those were also dependent on who was on the play and who was on the draw. And also we lost to a lot more experienced players, people that are grinding a lot more consistently than we were. We used to do all that grinding stuff, back in the earlier days, that 2015 to 2018 period. We were going, making day 2s of GPs. We were playing at the Star City events all the time. We were grinding a lot more back then. Now we're just talking, able to enjoy the game and help you guys learn the game a little bit more. So that's perfectly fine. We lost to more experienced players. I love the deck. I had so much fun piloting the deck, but it was miserable to play against. And I fully admit it. I'm, sad to see it's gone. It's, I guess we're going to play it in Legacy. But yeah, it's after that we pivoted. We built Dimir Murktide and Jeskai Control. I played a lot of Jeskai Control. If you look on the channel, you got to see basically I was the resident Jeskai Control player at the shop. I also played Simic Infect at my LGS. This was mainly during the fall time period that we were talking about here. Basically leading up to our big announcement in December, which was the One Ring, Amp Raptor, and Gigantha being banned. So 3 banned, gone. And then we had 4 cards unbanned. Splinter Twin, Green Sun Zenith, Faithless Looting, and Mox Opal. I talked about this in a video we put out briefly, but really so many players are so excited to be back and playing the game because of the unbans. Like, players that got out of the game like, oh, my favorite deck or this or that. I like this style. I like doing these things. They took that from me. And, Modern was the most popular format of Magic. I would say up until, Modern Horizons started killing things and the pandemic hit and everybody was just looking for that social gathering aspect and Commander really took off, Modern was the most popular format. It's definitely still number 2, which is awesome. And I definitely feel like a lot of players that quit have come back just because of these cards coming back into it. So this really was the largest unbanning in the history of the game. We've had 2 cards unbanned before, right? Where they go, oh, here, like 2018, they were like, Chase the Mind Sculptor and Bloodbraid Elf for free, right? They're perfectly fine. Here's 4 mana stuff. It's not scary anymore. And players have done some variation testings and trying things out, right? Players were going, oh, maybe I'll try this Bloodbraid Jund style. People did that for a little bit, but wasn't, never stuck around. Couple of blue-white control. People were testing out Terminus in there, where you get a brainstorm with Jace, put Terminus back on top and try to reset things, but it was kind of a little bit of clunk and didn't really stick around. The other time was 2016. Ancestral Visions and Sword of the Meek came back. Sword of the Meek's seen a little bit more play again. There's, of course, the Thopter combo that you can be able to do, especially with Urza. It lets you go infinite. It's still glass cannon, little janky, not quite as consistent. Ancestral Visions sees no play. All right, I tested with it right when it came out and enjoyed it and played with it. We didn't have like the cascade effects. We did back then, but it was like, if you're cascading, why aren't you cascading for Living End or something like that? Like, there's no point in cascading into this, draw 3 cards, right? So, I don't know. Like, I did some Jameer stuff with it. It doesn't see play. It doesn't. It's a cool card, but it doesn't see play. So those are the last time we saw like 2 cards unbanned. But 4 cards unbanned, this is, again, the biggest shakeup that we've seen to Modern since Modern Horizons has started to be printed. And they've talked about it. The next announcement's in March, and they've talked about reassessing and reevaluating the Modern ban list again, looking at other cards that they feel like they can try to sprinkle in and test out. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. We're already doing some testing and figuring things out on our end. Let's talk a little bit about what the meta itself looks like right now. Let's see. Is this the one we want? Nope, that's my face. That's not it. Where is it? One of these. There we go. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the ban lists themselves. So this is like, what are we at? 1,431 players played 3,000 matches. This is up to the 23rd, I think. So 3 days ago, this information is from. Numbers are fluctuating across the board as players are figuring things out, but number 1 deck in Modern, according to this data as of right now, and again, subject to change, more people are testing and playing and doing things. The holidays makes things a little bit weird for people to play. It's Mardu Energy. Players are sitting here adding in Bowmaster, Thoughtseizes, Fatal Pushes, this disruptive package. Some lists are even running the Chthonian Nightmare again, which I love, but seeing that as number 1, yeah, Modern Horizons 3 is full of just good cards. MH3.deck, yes, still going to be number 1. Makes sense. Boros Energy, still a thing. It's in that kind of 6th through 8th slot if we're like ranking them all like 1 through 10, but it's still a thing. But there's other decks that I'm more excited about. So we're going to talk a little bit more about decks that have popped up from the unbanning, and as well as just decks that you need to be aware of for the way that Modern is set up right now. All right, 2 big winners. I'd say the biggest winners, because these decks existed, but they really got a boost and have jumped really high up in the ranking because of this. Jund Creativity and Grinding Station, or Teamer Breach, right? Grinding Station, Breach, Teamer Breach. They have jumped in that top 5 slot within, if we're thinking about the ranking of decks, especially with recent leagues on MTGO. Now, Jund Creativity, of course, gets that big boost because of Faithless Looting getting unbanned. They've added in that persist lines, that basically that reanimation strategy that you can now utilize, getting back, the Archon of Cruelties and things like that. Instead of just relying on the Creativity Alliance alone to turn your tokens into Archons, you now be able to start digging for those lines using Faithless Looting. But if you have a Archon just stuck in your hand now from all these draw effects, dump it in the graveyard and be able to bring it back and start beating face with it. So be aware of that. That's going to be really tough to kind of fight through. We're also going to be seeing the Teamer Breach list. They got sped up using Mox Opal, right? It helps them generate the mana before you'd have to only rely on those Mox Ambers. So make sure you've got some Artifact Hate as well as Graveyard Hate to be able to fight this. Like, it's going to be a bit of a problem. The speed at which it goes is great. Mox Opal shot up in price. Like, you thought that the One Ring was expensive. Mox Opal is expensive. I think it's like, basically the same price as the One Ring was, that like $150 for one. Like, it's probably even more than the One Ring was at one point. So like, it's a problem. I have my one in my cube, And I was kicking myself of like, I was thinking about it recently too. Like, I was thinking about it in like November time, where I was like, I'm working on a modern gauntlet of like the pre-modern Horizon decks. It's like, oh, I should get around to getting more Mox Opals for my, old school affinity lists with, Volt Scourge and Cranial Platings and things like that. And then I never did, and now they're like super expensive. So it's going to be a while before I pick up a playset of Mox Opals, which sucks. Guess we can't use some of the artifact decks we'd want to right now. We'll just have to rely on other people at the shop to play those decks for the time being. All right, so other top decks to be aware of. Dimir Murktide still up there, very, very powerful. Hollow One is also another one. Murktide relies on Psychic Frog to be able to get out early, get card advantage, use disruption counter spells to keep your opponent in check, and then they close out the game with a Murktide, or the newest edition, that abhorrent Oculus, which, the Oculus build is very different piece-wise than the original Murktide list. They're still really strong and really powerful. Most people have switched to the Oculus at this point. Hollow One on the other side is just kind of got to speed up off Faithless Looting, right? Their whole thing is, we're going to just get out the gate and, discard some stuff, draw some stuff, cycle some things, do these sort of things. We featured it on the channel recently. You'll see it again soon. But it just kind of can deploy threats out of nowhere. Graveyard Hate's pretty good against it because you get to deal with things like Detective's Phoenix, Nethergoyf, stuff like that. But it's a scary deck. It's got some real burst in it that you got to be careful of. Especially, like, I love the line of doing like a what's that one drop red spell that lets you draw 3, discard 3. Both players do this, but if you have like a Bowmaster with that, you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna shoot you a bunch. Hope you're okay with this. All right, so the next tier of decks is the ones that I'm really excited about, because these are all the combo decks. Is it Twin, Yawgmoth, Brood-Scale combo, Ruby Storm? You can even make a comment like Belcher still in there slightly. It's not as much as prominent as those other 4 that I mentioned. I'm most excited about Twin. I've talked about it. If you go back through our videos in 2024, it's been one of the things that when we've done ban discussions on the channel, it's been one of them like, hey, Splinter Twin's fine. Let it be free. Let's go. It's time. It's perfectly fine. We tested it in the summer on our no ban list. It's fine. Yeah, I've got my Jeskai list. I'm ready to play with it. Is the most consistent and streamlined version, right? We know that. We're seeing it. We're seeing some slight variations and tweaks. Again, there's a few flex spots. It's not a consistent, always the same 75 cards across the board every time you fight this list. The main deck is definitely, I would say, about 50 to 55 the same. And then you have those 5 to 10 flex spots between decks. Most of the time it's 5, but for the most part, it's pretty consistent on how it's doing. And that's why most people are doing the is it because it is consistent. Your goal is to just kill people with Twin. That's I don't foresee that list ever becoming a number 1 deck again. With the way the Modern is, it's never going to be the best deck in the format. It's a scary deck, and it's going to be in this kind of mid-tier, I always can steal wins and always can be able to do work, right? Just like Yawgmoth, just like the Brood-Scale combo, Ruby Storm. Like these combo-y decks fit this good spot in Modern of like, hey, we're kind of policing things and making sure people are not being too greedy and not, doing things that they shouldn't be doing because we'll just kind of walk over you. Which, like, Yawgmoth and Brood-Scale, they're creature-based combo decks as well. Very different than Twin, because it's like, oh, I need Yawgmoth, Thran Physician. That's my sack outlet. I'm going to use these Undying creatures and drain you off. Brood-Scale, hey, we're going to use this equipment. We're going to basically sacrifice this Eldrazi spawn or start our combo by putting a +1 counter on something, and then it just loops until we have one creature that has a million +1 counters on it. So yeah, be prepared to fight creature-based stuff. And you guys know Ruby Storm. We've seen it before. It's existed for a while. Variations of Storm. You just play a lot of spells, Goldfish, and then wish for a way to kill your opponent, and you get there. I don't know. It's a deck. There's other lists you could see wherever I have them on the screen for people that are watching, but there's a lot of other decks that are in here. Omnath decks are coming up. Hammer Time is back. Like there's some cool decks to keep track of and be aware of. But overall, I'm really excited about the 4 cards that are unbanned. Again, like the biggest unbanning we've ever seen. Like Hammer Time's back. Decks that are like that used to be dead are back. So it definitely makes Modern feel so much more diverse compared to where we saw it before, where it was like, hey, Modern Horizons 3 definitely put us in a bad spot of like, all right, Nadu's the best deck, play the best deck. All right, Energy's the best deck, play the best deck. Right, like it definitely feels better about where you can go from here. I'm really excited to keep testing and grinding. I'm going to keep doing all the Modern content for you guys. We're going to start playing a lot more on MTGO as well, and probably start sneaking in some more games there for everyone to enjoy. But yeah, let's shift gears a bit. We've been talking Magic and Modern for a bit. Let's shift over and talk like how we wrap up our episodes usually is the what are you playing, what are you watching, that sort of stuff. So let's talk a little bit more about the play side of things. What have we been playing in 2024 besides doing besides of course Magic, because that's been a big part of what we've been doing. So let's do, because we just had our Steam recap. Let's start with there, and then we'll talk about other stuff. Specifically, we did our kind of top 3 games that I've played this year. All right, number 3. Big surprise, Stormgate is number 1 on that list. It came out this year. We played a lot of it. We did the campaign. We did a lot of the co-op. We did a lot of the commentary for it, so it makes sense. The other 2, Baldur's Gate 3 and Ghost of Tsushima. Now, I missed out on Baldur's Gate 3 last year because it came out like right at the end of summer, beginning of the school year, and I just was like, I can't get sucked into this game because I know I'm going to get sucked into this game. So I waited until summer, and then I dragged all my friends that didn't pick it up last time and was like, yep, we're playing this. Now, I haven't beaten it yet. The furthest I've gotten is we've gotten to Baldur's Gate, so like Act 3, and haven't been able to play any more of it yet. Hoping we will be able to. It's the holidays and stuff like that, and we'll see. It might end up being summertime. All right, let's finish the game, right? Who knows? Ghost of Tsushima was another game that I was like super excited for. I don't have a PlayStation anymore, so it was like I had to wait for the PC launch of it, and so I was like, yes, this game is amazing. It's been a long time since I've played one of those type of action adventure single player games. A lot of the times when I'm playing games, outside of making content, it's like, okay, what games are we playing together as a group, right? What team game are we going to play? What group game are we going to play? Just so, because it feels like, I don't know, if I'm going to be doing something, I could do content, or I could sit, like, I don't know. It's hard for me to accept just doing the single player stuff, but it's cool. Like I played all the like Batman Arkham games back in the day. Like I like those types of games. I just don't play them very often. And this one, like you got to run around and be a samurai. So yes, 100%, I'm all about it. I'm playing it with Japanese dialogue and stuff, and I've got the voice actor who voices Zoro from One Piece as the main actor in Ghost of Tsushima, so that's super sweet. I got to hear him scream and yell and slice people in half, and basically the summertime, especially June, was pretty much all samurai all the time, and I just kind of put my head down and just played, that. So we haven't beat that yet either. We're in Act 2 of that. I think there's like 3 acts, but I played a lot of Act 1 in June. Yeah, so that was a lot of our like, big 3 games, and why we played a lot of those, especially the summertime, because I had so much more free time. Those 2 games, like Baldur's Gate 3 and Ghost of Tsushima, were like, yes, number 1's number 2, or sorry, number 2 and number 3 makes sense. Stormgate number 1. Now, if we go back a little bit further into the year, Helldivers was another big one and made it into like my top 5 because that was like that March through May, sitting there spreading democracy around the world. The elements of Helldivers is really cool. There's the planets we're trying to conquer, and it's like there's a specific person's role at the company is to, be a dungeon master controlling that a little bit. That's super cool and determines, what the aspects of the planets are there more reinforcements and those elements. So we really enjoyed it, but it was one of those games that was really fun when we first started playing, and then it fell off very quickly with my play group because I didn't pick it up again after May. Other games that we've tried this year was Smite 2, picked that up in November, so I guess we're bouncing around a little bit. Picked that up in November. A couple of my buddies were playing it and like, yeah, try this, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll play it. It's fine. All right, it's fine. I'll play it with them. I'm not as into it as other games. Picked up Deadlock. Tried that. That's pretty cool. Valorant's usually my shooter of choice, but Deadlock, I've found a couple heroes in there that I'm liking. I know a lot of people are playing the Marvel stuff. I haven't tried it yet. Maybe we will at some point. Lockdown Protocol we tried, which is basically Among Us style game. We played a little bit more Among Us again this year, first time in a couple of years. I like those types of games, the kind of open mic deception, proximity chat. I wish there was more proximity chat games like that. They're a lot of fun. So non-Steam games that we've played. Let's see. We played Valorant, of course. Like we talked about, that was our shooter of choice. TFT, because a couple of my buddies are really into it. I don't play League. I'm not a League player unless it's someone's birthday or a holiday, or like I'm a fifth man in an ARAM on those occasions, or we're doing in-house games and it's like 4v4s or something like that. League's not my MOBA of choice. Sorry about it. I did play StarCraft, of course, a lot of StarCraft this year. Doing co-ops, doing some of the custom games. They had the StarCraft vs. Brood War mod. Like there's some really cool ones. Played some Hearthstone and some Battlegrounds. We got to do that. Let's see, what other things did we do? Oh, of course, we had our MOBA of choice, which is Heroes of the Storm. I played a lot of that. Played MTGO, Age of Empires 4, Age of Mythology, playtesting Immortal Gates of Pyre, Zero Space, Battle Aces. So a lot of RTSs. Can you see the trend here? Like there's a lot going on there. Yeah, that's a lot of our games that we played. I think that's kind of the wrap up. We watched so many shows. The big ones, of course, Arcane Season 2 came out. Watched Freerun this year. Amazing. I keep pushing on it. I think Freerun was my favorite anime of the year. Yes, Thousand Year Blood War is back for Bleach. Yes, Dan to Dan is out and it's amazing. But there's something about Freerun that just like hits at a different element. Dan to Dan is a new, updated Fooly Cooly. Instead of it being all sci-fi robot space elements for Fooly Cooly, it's like space and ghosts and supernatural elements and Dan to Dan. Watch it if you haven't. It's amazing. I love it. But Freerun just is like, I don't know. If you haven't watched Freerun yet, do it. You will enjoy it. At least I enjoyed it. It's very, very good. Yeah, lots of great animes that were out. We watched lots of shows as well, and I can't even think about the real life shows that we watched because we watched so many of them. But the specific anime ones definitely jump out at me this year. But I think that's it for what we watched, what we saw, what we played. We did all that stuff. So let's talk a little bit about 2025 goals. This will be very short. Last little bit, and then we'll let you all go. So thanks for sticking with us. If you are still listening or still hanging out and watching. 2025, let's see. We want more episodes, right? More content for you guys. Continue our twice-a-week gameplay coverage since we did it kind of halfway through the year in 2024. I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like if we keep it going starting in January all the way up through, right? If we're always doing that twice-a-week coverage and then the sprinkling of content on Saturdays for everybody. And, I want to see that. I mean, it's podcast episodes. Of course, we talked about it in NanMans Nerd Corner. We started interviewing some other content creators and doing a new podcast episode stuff. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to set it up and schedule it, do the gameplay, do the interview, edit it. It takes a lot of time. So we're still going to be doing it. I want to try to do it on a monthly basis. We'll see. I'm going to try. It's hard. It's a lot of work. With full-time jobs and all the other stuff that we're doing for the consistent regular content for the weekly gameplay. We'll see. We're going to try to be guest on more streams in 2025. That's going to be a big part. We're starting out the year doing a bunch of guest streams in January. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So again, Blue Sky and Twitter and all those things, you'll see where that's going to be at. We're going to try to do some more travel for content creation. Like we're planning to go to the MagicCon Vegas this year because it's in the summer. So we're going to be melting in the heat, but we're going to try to go. We haven't been to the West Coast yet, so not a big flyer. Don't really like flying. Stresses me out a lot. Get really stressed at the airport and the flight, and just it's all stressful. So I'm going to try to do that. We're going to go to Commander Sealed again, which is New York. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be in the fall. Big push. We're going to get above that 1K for YouTube subscribers, and hopefully we'll just kind of keep pushing that. Hopefully we'll be able to work with some brands and organizations. I keep wanting to, I keep promoting them every time I get for the price of for free because they're so good. But Quiver, I want to work with you. Let's work together, Quiver time. Lots of other cool products out there, sleeves and deck boxes and stuff like that I use that I'd love to start reaching out and trying to work with other companies. So those are kind of our big goals for 2025. More content, lots more cool stuff for you guys to be able to watch, enjoy, listen to, do that fun stuff and interact with, and hopefully be able to travel more and do more content side of things. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening and watching to the podcast episode, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, iTunes, whatever, Google Podcasts, whatever they are. But that's it. One of these days, we'll get our buddy Jaime back on. He co-hosted with us a bit in 2023, and we've been chatting so much that it's like, hey, we got to do the One Piece episode, and I've been holding off on it because it's one of those that's like he's much more into that scene right now than he is into Magic and other games. So it's like I don't want to waste my episode on One Piece stuff without him here, because it's going to be one of those that's like he has a very unique perspective of it, and he's one of those, like, when it comes to collecting, he's a bit of a whale when it comes to his decks, where it's like, oh, I want to build a new deck, but I'm not going to play this new deck, and I'm not going to show you my new deck until I've bought all of the alt art and special versions of all these cards. And he does it for like 5 different decks. And it's like, all right, sweet. And then he'll play it for a little bit and go, okay, I'm done with this. And then we gonna flip it, and then he's going to go find a new deck. So he's always got like 4 or 5 in rotation, but they all look crazy. So I'm still playing Moria. I'm going to play Usopp in OPO10. I'm on blue and black. I played, we're talking One Piece again. I don't know. We'll save it. We'll save it for when we get him on the episode, which we will do in 2025. That's another goal. We'll get Jaime back to talk One Piece for all y'all to enjoy. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching. Listening, everybody. And I'll see you all next game.